Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Sea Files. Thank you for joining us once again. Don't forget to subscribe, give a thumbs up, help out the videos, and hit that bell for notifications. We welcome you once again to a journey through time and space, and a journey through the events of our day and some wisdom from God. And we've got a lot to talk about today, folks. A lot to talk about. Our world is in flux. There is so much going on in our world today. And we need to really come to a point of understanding that from a worldview that is in line with the revelation of God to us. A worldview based upon truth rather than myth, truth rather than misinformation. And so let's begin and look at the things that are affecting us. And we will begin with the World Health Organization and the United Nations General Assembly. And this came out today out of, I believe this was out of the Gateway Pundit. No, this was Censored News. This was out of Censored News. And the UN is making the move that I've been predicting on this channel, and many others have been predicting as well. By the way, a shout out to many, many great patriots who have been putting out this kind of information and other forms of information that have been very beneficial to us. Shout out to SGT Report. A shout out to Stu Peters. A shout out to Red Pill 78. And many, many others who have put out a lot of good information. And to all of you guys out there who are putting out the truth, and you're being censored, and you're being shut down, and you're being shadow banned, but you keep on fighting, and you're the folks that you have a few people in your audience, but you're fighting the fight. A shout out to all of you. We appreciate all of you out there that are doing this. Let me give a shout out to a very special person in my life. Shout out to Zaylee, who is starting to watch these videos, my wonderful and beautiful granddaughter. Love you, Zaylee. All right, let's go to the United Nations General Assembly, a prime piece of real estate in New York, which I believe we should reclaim for better purposes. But nonetheless, it is used for this organization that frankly, in my humble opinion, has done very little to help the world. But the United Nations General Assembly President today approved the non-binding UN Declaration on Pandemic Prevention, Preparedness, and Response. They love these acronyms, I tell you. I worked in government most of my life, between the military and law enforcement and other positions in government. I can tell you, government is filled with acronyms like PPPR. And anyway, he made this decision apart from the full assembly vote and over the objections of 11 nations. And this is what globalist oligarchs do. They decide at the Bilderberg Group, at Bohemian Grove and other locations where they get together and they have their discussions, what they are going to do. Their strategy for world domination. And once they make that decision, that is what happens, and they will railroad it through. They will do it over and atop of our objections if necessary. If they get in the way, run them over. That is the concept and the principles of world domination by this group of oligarchs. Well, the critics called the declaration, which seeks to create a global pandemic authority with the power to enforce lockdowns, universal vacation, and censorship of misinformation, hypocrisy, and unhinged. So they're projecting. They project onto us the very things that they themselves are doing. If you want to see misinformation, hypocrisy, and people being unhinged, just watch MSNBC or CNN or ABC or any of the mainstream media outlets, Fox News as well. Just watch any of the globalist supporting alternative media sites, Media Matters and others of that nature, that are pushing the globalist agenda, and you will see misinformation, hypocrisy, and them being unhinged. Unhinged because they're in the fight of their life right now, folks. They're not winning this battle, and we're going to show you where there are leaks in the dam and the flood is coming. Critics called the declaration, which seeks to create a global pandemic authority with the power to enforce lockdowns, universal vaccination, and censorship of misinformation, hypocrisy, and unhinged. The approval came as of a high-level meeting on PPR, but what does the declaration mean in practice? For proponents, the declaration is a key step toward global coordination in pandemic prevention and public health. According to the World Health Organization, or I couldn't resist that one. Every time I see WHO without the dots in between the W and the H and the O, it's just an owl hooing to me. But anyway, it presents an opportunity to prevent and prepare for pandemics and their consequences using an approach that involves all government sectors. And might I add, as they schedule these pandemics in the years and times that they schedule them, because they are planned. We know that. We know that by now. But along we go with the agenda. The WHO also said the PPPR aims to apply lessons learned from the C19P and comes as the world faces multiple humanitarian and climate-related crises which are threatening lives and livelihoods around the world. In a statement, WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said, if C19 taught us nothing else, it's that when health is at risk, everything is at risk. Now, this is their push and their narrative and their gaslighting propaganda. Look, folks, I've read 2 of Klaus Schwab's books of the World Economic Forum, and I've read his plans and agendas for us, for the world. He really wants to set himself up as the benevolent dictator of the entire globe. You know, a lot of people are focused on Joe Biden. It's all about Joe Biden. Him stumbling on the stage, him stumbling over his words, him being incoherent. It's all about Biden. Impeach Biden. Do this to Biden. Do that. Biden's on vacation again, and so forth and so on. And that's exactly, in my humble opinion, where the globalist oligarchs want us to be focused. But you see, Biden is not the controller and the mover and the shaker of what's going on. He is a useful puppet of the globalist oligarchs. And he's not really in control of anything, including his own faculties, apparently. But who is in control? Well, you have to look no further than the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization and the United Nations and Agenda 2030 and Bohemian Grove and all of the meetings that the globalists have. There's another one I can't think of right away, but anyway, just look there, and you will find what is really moving and shaking the world. But there's something else that's moving and shaking the world. It is something that is shaking the ground beneath the globalists' feet, and we're going to show you what that is as we go along in this video. Well, so they're pushing the C-19 pandemic, and it says, quote, comes as the world faces multiple humanitarian and climate-related crises which are threatening lives and livelihoods around the world. And this is their theme: humanitarian and climate-related crises. And so you make up the science because, you can control the scientists. Why? Because you can control the grants. The money, the big money that controls the grants, controls the science. And what is put out on the big media, which is also controlled by big money, is the official political narrative concerning the science. It doesn't have to be based upon real, true, peer-reviewed scientific studies. All it has to be is based upon the political agenda put forth by the WHO and the WEF and Bohemian Grove and so forth. The globalist oligarch elites. And they control all of that. And so this statement of humanitarian and climate-related crises is a statement of WEF, WHO control. And this is the gaslighting propaganda they want you to believe. In a statement, WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said, quote, if C-19 taught us nothing else, it's that when health is at risk, everything is at risk. Well, I'll tell you what it taught me. It taught me that they never allow a planned crisis to go to waste. And they use it to their advantage. That's what it taught me. Folks, I never took one shot. Not one. Even from the beginning. All the way back to 2020, early 2020, when they started bringing those out, till today, I have not taken one. What I have done is I've controlled my diet. I exercise. I do CrossFit 3 to 5 times a week. And I take supplements that I have researched carefully to make sure that they are effective and safe supplements to build up my immune system. I believe in natural immunity. This is my opinion. I am not a doctor. I don't give medical advice. I am not giving medical advice. I am just telling you what I have done in my own personal life. What you do is up to you. That is your decision. But as for me, I'm done with synthetic medicine. Frankly, I'm done with most doctors. I'm talking about medical doctors. And I am turning more toward naturopathic doctors and natural solutions to these problems, and building my immune system and living a healthy and clean life. And, according to the official narrative, I should either be gravely ill and in the hospital in critical condition, or dead by now, according to the official WHO narrative. But guess what, folks? I am here feeling wonderful today, making a video. How could that ever be if what they're saying is true? That's a question you can answer for yourself. At any rate, you can see that this is an agenda to try and force all of us into their lockdowns and their shutdowns and their mandates and all of this. This is round two, and I've said that round two was coming. And it has come. And now they're pushing it. But remember, the ground beneath their feet is rumbling and shaking, and they're facing the beginnings of an earthquake. And we'll show you what that earthquake is soon. Well, Attorney Lawrence Gostin, head of Georgetown University's WHO Collaborating Center, a key figure playing a key behind-the-scenes role in negotiations for the proposed pandemic treaty and amendments to the International Health Regulations of 2005, said the high-level meeting, quote, is our best chance to gain support and deep engagement of heads of state and government, end quote. In other words, it's our best chance to bring them in line and control them and dictate to them what we want them to do. And if we tell them we want your country shut down and we want people locked in their homes and we want medical personnel with law enforcement or military going into their home and forcing the shot onto them, and mask wearing and all of the things that go along with it, then you will do that according to our dictate, our orders to you, head of state. And so this is what their agenda is, as you can see right here. In their own words, they're telling us what they want to do. Other experts took a different view. Author and podcaster Frank Gaffney, I'm not familiar with him, but apparently he's the founder and president of the Center for Security Policy, told The Defender it is, quote, very worrying that the UN and the WHO, end quote, will further encourage, if not actually authorize, the kind of standing capability or authority on their part to essentially dictate what constitutes emergencies, end quote. So, another EUA, Emergency Use Authorization, right? Here it comes again, 2.0. Quote, there's no getting around the fact that it's going to come at the expense of the sovereignty of the various nations that will subsequently be told that they have an emergency and told what they have to do about it, end quote, he added. So all they have to do, folks, is just declare an emergency. Just declare it. No scientific studies to support it. No explanations. No, you got to explain yourself. No, none of that. Who are you, useless eater, beneath us, the oligarch rulers of the world, to say anything to us? We will dictate, we will control, and you will do as we say. This is the agenda. Anyway, it continues. This is unprecedented, he says. Gustin said negotiations are at a loss as to how to balance accountability and sovereignty when implementing instruments like the PPPR, IHR, or Pandemic Treaty. So you can see that there's more to this article. You can pause and read these portions. The gist of it is, this is what they want to push right here that's on your screen. They have deep concerns about this UV. They want it done, and they want it done now. Why are people resisting us, the globalist elites, they say? So this gives them world powers to actually control nations. And there's the passport issue coming up again on your screen. And this is really what they've wanted all along. So we'll go on to the next article, but remember this, that this is what they want to do. This is what they want to push. Well, what are we going to do about it? Well, that's coming up. I want you to see this. Now, this is out of a scientific study, Southern Hemisphere scientific study. These are, if you look at the blue lines, that's the rate of mortality. Rate of mortality. The kind of orange line right here, let me see if I can get it over here. Right there, orange line. See this line coming right here? That is vax doses. And the red line is 1 year moving average. And so what you'll see is you have mortality rate jumping around here, right? You see this. And you have the 1 year average coming down here. Now, in 2021, right here, you see that the solution, their solution, comes into play as Operation, what was it? Operation Speed Up, whatever they called it. I can't remember what they called it. Came into play where they brought the vax in. And watch what happens. The shots shoot up. I mean, they start out really high. Everybody's jumping on it because of the fear that they have. This they've been pushing the fear, and then this comes out, and then boom, shoots way up on the number of people getting it. But notice what else shoots up. The blue line, mortality rate. Okay, now let's see if this is consistent. That's Argentina. Here's Australia. Same thing. Here's where the program begins to try and supposedly try and heal people from this. And so they're getting the shot, and boom, blue line shoots up. Here's Bolivia. Boom, blue line goes to the roof. And then we have that. Okay. We have here Brazil, blue line through the roof. Look at this. Look at this. Right in line with the shots. Okay. We have a huge shoot up on the blue line right here just before the shots, comes way down, and then when the orange here comes in, the blue goes up. That's Chile. Here's Colombia. You can see it once again. Right here, it's really low. Right here's where it comes in. You're right here. Shoots, there's nobody really getting it. Right here is when it really starts to jump in and people are jumping and getting the shots. Look at the coordination of the lines. Right there, blue and orange shooting together in an upward trend. Here's Ecuador. You see a similar, Ecuador looks a little different. You've got here, they're shooting up, way up on the shots, but the blue line is kind of down here like this. So you wonder what happened here in Ecuador. Malaysia, right along with each other. Boom. I mean, look at how the parallel is with the orange and blue shooting through the roof there. And then we have New Zealand, and you have a little bit of disparity. Boom. Here's the orange. Boom, boom. There's the shots, and the blue. It has a little bit of a delay, but it shoots up over here. Here's Paraguay. You guys can look at the lines. And Peru. And you can see, once again, boom, shooting up and then down. Philippines. And if these are 17 nations being displayed here. Singapore, South Africa. You have consistency with the increases there. Suriname. There's Thailand and Uruguay. And these are the graphs from the scientific study, folks. These do not lie. This is an actual, true, real scientific study, not just a declaration from the World Health Organization. So you can see where there's a correlation. And so this, out of X, y'all should send 80,000 IRS agents to Ukraine. They'll find a lot of tax dollars over there. And can you think of a better actor to have that face on that poster right there? Just kind of a shot at the IRS and their intentions to enforce whatever the World Economic Forum and whatever the treaty of the WHO requires them to enforce. Now I can't go without giving the Flat Earth Society a little bit of, let me make sure the volume's up so you can hear it, a little bit of a equal time here. So here we go.
Did you notice any curvature while we were up there?
Curvature, no.
No, there's no curvature?
It's just all flat.
So asking an airline pilot, while he's up at 30,000 feet flying an airliner, did you notice any curvature on the Earth? Nope, looks all flat to me. And of course the caption says, this well-qualified pilot is spreading ridiculous conspiracy theories. Why, maybe you need to have your eyes checked, and get some glasses or whatever. So just thought I'd throw that in there for a little bit of levity and fun. Now, this here is, I'll let you bring it down so you can see it. 3 armed felons follow man home from Dallas bank after he withdrew a large amount of cash. So they were watching him. This is why you always need to carry a firearm. Well, did he use a firearm? No, he used his head. He's backing into his driveway. The 3 guys jump out. They're going to try and rob him of that large amount of cash. They're trying to get him to open the door, trying to break his window. He's thinking about what's his best option, and there's his best option. Just take off. Good move. So this is thinking on your feet. And here's the thing. And they go driving off in the other direction. They don't chase after him. So here's the point. And this is something, 30 years in law enforcement, folks. Over 40 years in studying martial arts, okay? Let me tell you, guns do not solve all problems, okay? They can solve some problems. And yes, if you're in a deadly force situation, an active shooter, someone threatening your life, they're attacking you with a knife or something of that nature, yes, the gun can come in handy. But when it comes to an attack with a knife with a gun, you got to remember the 21-foot rule. They can run 21 feet and stab you before you can get your gun out of your waistband and get a shot off. Always remember that. So what's important here? Maneuvering, thinking your way through the situation, situational awareness, knowing what's around you at all times. Did he realize that they were following him as he's going home? Did he notice how many men were in the car? Did he pay attention to these things? No, most people don't. Most people drive with tunnel vision. And so when you're driving, not only should you defensive drive, because I've had so many people pull out in front of me over the last week, and I've had to hit my brakes. There was just 3 people killed in a very bad crash on 2427, which we were heading out toward Charlotte to go take care of something. We had to take a detour around it because they were doing a vehicular homicide investigation on that. If you crash and you kill someone and you're at fault, they're going to do an investigation. Make sure you weren't intoxicated. Make sure you weren't doing 100 miles an hour. Make sure you weren't reckless driving. If you were, you could be charged with a felony, vehicular homicide. And so that's why they do those long investigations and shut off the roads. But the point is, you should be aware when you're driving what's going on around you. And don't just drive with tunnel vision. Look in your rearview mirror, look in your side mirrors, look to the sides and see what's going on. And you'll be able to avoid a lot of situations. And so he was able to avoid it by pulling his car out. He saw the gap, he saw the opportunity, and saw that they weren't going to be shooting him if he took off. So boom, he takes off. He's okay, here's my best solution in this situation. He kept a cool head, or she, whoever it might be, and had an escape route. And that's one of the things you learn. Learn to escape the situation to the best ability that you have at the time under the circumstances. So just a little bit of help there from a career law enforcement officer. All right, now it's important to learn how to fight too, because not every situation requires a firearm. If someone punches you and you shoot them, guess who's going to prison for a very, very long time? You are, for shooting them, because the force was excessive. Yes, force can be excessive when it comes to citizens as well as law enforcement officers. So be careful with that. Learn how to fight. Meet their force with an equal, greater force, but a step one. I mean, in other words, it's just enough force to stop the aggression against you, to stop the threat. You only use that amount of force that's used to stop the threat. Once the threat has ended, you stop your actions of defense, because when you go beyond that line from defense to offense, once you've reached offense, now you're in dangerous legal territory, because you're in danger of going to jail. All right, just keep that in mind. So it's good to learn martial arts, learn how to fight, learn how to defend yourself. All right, so now we're here where, what is this? Oh yeah, this is on the jet that was lost by the Marine Corps. And now, if you can see on your screen, they're now saying that it went down due to bad weather. Now, this is a jet that is designed to fly through bad weather, and so a lot of people are not accepting this explanation. And I have to tell you, I had a buddy of mine who's a former Marine and also former law enforcement. I worked with him when we were in law enforcement. I worked with a lot of very good law enforcement officers that were former Marines and friends of mine. And he texted me and said, "Give the children something new to play with, and the first thing they do is lose it." And of course, he was joking about the jet going down and they couldn't figure out where it was. The joke in the Marine Corps was, it's not new, but it's new to you when the folks were in boot camp, right? They always got the hand-me-down stuff. And I was kind of thinking about joking about, well, the Navy decided to take it back because it's new. In the Marine Corps, it's not supposed to have new stuff. They're supposed to have hand-me-down stuff, But just a little inter-service levity there. But the point is that he found this funny because the Marine Corps never gets anything new. And they got a nice new F-35, and the first thing they do was lose it. And I was pointing out, just like any kid that you give a new toy, right? They not only lost it, but they broke it. How many parents have given a child a toy and they lost it and broke it? Yeah, that was my childhood. And so people are not accepting this bad weather explanation. And so expect that the theories are going to start coming out on this F-35. We'll see what they end up being. All right, so we have confronted on explicit pornographic books offered to kids. Colorado School District blocks libs of TikTok domain. So once again, the battle of the parent versus the school board, the parent versus the school. And the school is, of course, going to fight its battle, and the parents are going to fight their battle. And here's my solution to the whole thing. Abandon the schools. Folks, they're broke. They're broken beyond repair. We can't fix them. It's time to get a new model. If you have a car that is breaking down monthly and you're having to put a lot of money into it to repair it, and the repair bills are more than the worth of the car, or the value of the car, you know what time it is. It's time to get a new car, or a better used car. Well, the schools have broken down. They are beyond repair. It's costing more money to try and repair them, and more time at school board meetings to try to repair them than they are worth, than their value. And so it is time to get a new system when it comes to education. And that could be homeschooling, private schools, internet learning, whatever it might be, but something better than the system we have now. Of course, the teachers union would want to crucify me for saying what I just said, but that's too bad, because I don't care what the teachers union has to say. All right, so this is thousands rally in Ottawa, Canada, against gender indoctrination in schools. Far-left activists counter. So here's what that looks like.
This is something that is very inappropriate. It should stay closed. And why are you promoting in schools?
Right now, education is not education anymore.
Education is not education anymore. Exactly right. Now, I want you to check out this reporter for Rebel News. Let me ask you a question. Would you want to mess with this guy? This guy looks like he just walked right out of a cage fight in the UFC. I mean, this guy, doesn't he look like Joe Rogan? I mean, this guy looks like he's ready to go to battle, man. He got his hat tilted down and kind of crooked like that. He's got that squared off jaw, those big shoulders and big neck. Look at this guy. He got some guns on him, too. He looks like he's ready to take care of some business. I don't think they'd want to try and mess with this rebel reporter.
It's indoctrination. We must stop that.
They're taking away our parental rights. They're asking kids in school, young kids, to decide on the gender.
You know, this event is an innocent event for families from coast to coast, for fathers and mothers, and we're just trying to protect Canada's kids.
I think we've seen quite an incredible march here today. Even I didn't expect it to be that big. Because we had the march spread out through small towns all across the country and cities and everywhere.
All right, we'll leave it there. I don't want to show any of that because it's going to get, the two protests are going to clash a little bit there. The point is, the earthquake is shaking under the feet of the globalist elite. People have had enough. They finally had it. I've been waiting for 3 or 4 years till people finally have it. And now they finally had it. And they are creating an earthquake underneath the globalist feet. And this is part of that earthquake. Now check this one out. This is what globalist indoctrination brings you. Hundreds of humans who identify as dogs, mind you, dogs, gather at a Berlin train station to advocate for the rights of people who identify as dogs. The event was organized by a group called Canine Beans, and there they are, ladies and gentlemen, the indoctrinated, mind-controlled masses. I keep telling people I identify as rich, but the banks just won't cooperate with me on this, and I think they're discriminating against me because I'm rich. I identify as rich, therefore I am rich, and the banks need to get with the program and just put that money in my account because that's how I identify. Well, just as they're not going to give in to my fantasies because it has to do with money, I think most of us are just not going to give in to the fantasies of these folks. Hey, God didn't make you a dog, okay? Get over yourself. All right, we'll move right along as we leave the land of Oz and go to another crowd. And this was on the southern border. I did not want to ignore the southern border. Maybe some of you have seen the folks hopping on trains and just hundreds of people riding on top of train cars heading north to the border of the United States, between the United States and Mexico. Elon Musk says, strange, the media isn't covering the border crisis. Do you agree, or is it intentional? And look at that crowd. They are flooding in, and we do have a flood. The dam is breaking and the flood is coming, but there's 2 dams breaking. One is on the southern border, and this is what we see, and the other one is the huge number of people that have said, I've had enough, and they're rebelling against the globalist oligarchs. So 2 floods, 2 different dams that are breaking. This dam needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed now. We don't know how many of these folks might be terrorists. The ICE has already said that they are unable to vet all of them. We don't know what's coming across the border. Some of these folks might be perfectly fine because, they're just family people. But we've also seen where a lot of military-aged men are coming across the border. We've heard this over and over and over again by the different politicians that have gone down to the border and talked about it. And people do a lot of talking. Talk. But the flood continues. All that talking has done absolutely nothing. So, this election is so very important so that we could close this up and save our country. Trump is right. If you don't have a border, you don't have a country. And guess what? People are in danger. And now that they're being shipped to New York, guess what New York is doing? They're reacting against these immigrants, as they call them, coming across our border. And so, a great awakening in New York? Well, we'll see what happens. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our news segment. Let me just end this, since we're at 45 minutes, with Psalm 99. And may the words of God have their effect upon us. May God bless the reading of His Word. Listen carefully as we end our session. The Lord reigns. Let the people tremble. He sits between the cherubims. Let the earth be moved. The Lord is great in Zion, and He is high above all the people. Let them praise thy great and terrible name, for it is holy. The king's strength also loves judgment. Thou hast established equity. God establishes equity, ladies and gentlemen. Thou executest judgment and righteousness in Jacob. Exalt ye the Lord our God, and worship at His footstool, for He is holy. Moses and Aaron among His priests, and Samuel among them that call upon His name, they call upon the Lord, and He answers them. He spake unto them in the cloudy pillar. They kept His testimonies and the ordinance that He gave them. Thou answerest them, O Lord our God. Thou wast the God that favorest them, though Thou tookest vengeance of their inventions. Exalt the Lord our God, and worship at His holy hill, for the Lord our God is holy, and He reigns over the affairs of men. So all of this trouble and all of this turmoil that we are seeing in the world will not escape the sovereignty and providence of Almighty, holy and righteous God. And so there is our hope. Trust in Him, and we will see a better day. Thanks for joining us, folks. God bless, and we will see you on the next C-Files.